All right, we're going to go ahead and get started today. Hello, everyone. My name is Miranda Kennedy, and I'm the director of the ABLE National Resource Center. I'd like to start off by thanking all of you for joining us today for our March Spotlight webinar on the National ABLE Alliance, a 16-state plus DC multi-state partnership of the ABLE programs. The title of today's webinar is Making the Most of Your ABLE Account with the National ABLE Alliance, and I think you'll find that our presenters have some very key information and strategies to share that will indeed help you, your family member, or the community you're serving to make the most out of the ABLE account. Before we go over the agenda and items that we're going to be covering over the next 75 minutes and introduce our National ABLE Alliance presenters to get us started on that, I want to hand the reins over to my colleague, Maggie Redden, who will be taking just 2 or 3 minutes to walk us through some webinar logistics. So Maggie, take it away.
Yep, welcome everyone. I'm just going to go over a few items to help the webinar run smoothly for you. Listening to the webinar. The audio for today's webinar is being broadcast through your computer. Please make sure your speakers are turned on or your headphones are plugged in. You can control the audio broadcast via the audio broadcast panel. If you accidentally close the panel, you can reopen it by going to the Communicate menu at the top of the screen and choosing Join Audio Broadcast. If you don't have sound capabilities on your computer or you prefer to listen by phone, please dial 1-650-479-3207, and you'll have to enter the meeting code 664-600-724. And please note you don't need an attendee ID. Captioning. Real-time captioning is being provided during this webinar. The captions can be found in the Media Viewer panel, which appears in the lower right corner of the webinar platform. If you want to make the Media Viewer panel larger, you can minimize other panels like chat, Q&A, and/or participants. Submitting questions. Please use the Q&A box to submit any questions you have during the webinar, and we will direct them accordingly. If your question isn't answered during the webinar or you are listening by phone and not logged in, you may email info@ablenrc.org. Technical assistance. If you experience any technical difficulties during the webinar, please use a chat box to send a message to the host, NDI admin, or you may email mredden@ndi-inc.org. Please note this webinar is being recorded and the materials will be placed on the ABLE National Resource Center website along with all of our other ABLE webinars at ablenrc.org/webinars. And with that, I will turn it back to Miranda.
Great. Thank you, Maggie. Again, my name is Miranda Kennedy, and I'm going to be facilitating our presentation and our question and answer session today. I'm so pleased to have joining us 5 individuals who are part of the National ABLE Alliance as our presenters. Among our presenters, we have ABLE program administrators, ABLE and investment management subject matter experts, stakeholders, advocates and ABLE account owners, and parents of ABLE account owners. They will each be sharing a bit more about who they are and their role with the National ABLE Alliance at the top of their part of the presentation that I'm going to be going into here. But our presenters are J.J. Hanley, who is the director and oversees the Illinois ABLE program. The Illinois ABLE program is the lead for the 16 states plus DC that make up the National ABLE Alliance. We also have with us Karen Austin, who is the deputy treasurer with the Iowa State Treasurer's Office. Paul Supa is also with us, and he is a chartered financial consultant and senior investment analyst for investment management with the Census Government Savings, working with the National ABLE Alliance. We also have Wendy Settles, who is a peer supporter and disability rights specialist at the Impact Center for Independent Living. Wendy is also an ABLE account owner who has her account with the National ABLE Alliance. And finally, we have Lauren McLean, who is a business development specialist with Trust Bank. Lauren is also a parent and authorized legal representative for an ABLE account owner with the National ABLE Alliance. So our agenda today, we're going to be covering the following. I'm going to be taking just a moment to introduce and provide some context around our Spotlight series on ABLE programs. I'll also be quickly covering 2 slides with resources before handing it over to JJ to get us started, introducing the National ABLE Alliance and explaining what NAA is. Karen and Paul will then be presenting information on NAA's program features and investment options, and how to assess your needs to get the most out of your NAA account. And we'll be wrapping up the NAA Spotlight presentation with testimony from Wendy and Lauren on their experience with the National ABLE Alliance as ABLE account owners and authorized representatives. Then we'll have time for questions and answers with all of you, our audience, and this is why we factored in 75 minutes for the presentation, so we can take that extra time with all of you at the end. So what is the ABLE National Resource Center Spotlight Series? Throughout 2019, we're going to be conducting a series of bi-monthly ABLE Program Spotlight webinars. These webinars are intended for those who already have a basic understanding of ABLE. On these Spotlight webinars, state ABLE programs that are part of multi-state collaborations as well as individual state programs will provide program-specific details, general guidance, and best practices. Each program Spotlight will also cover the range of investment options offered. We wanted to put a focus on this piece around investment because the investment choices offered in choosing an ABLE account or when you're making adjustments to an ABLE account over time is often confusing aspect of the ABLE program and ABLE accounts for individuals who want to make the most of their ABLE account but are new to the concept of investing and saving. Our hope is to help pull the curtain back, provide some more information and transparency around investments made through your ABLE account, and give you guidance, strategies, and best practices to consider to make the most of the investment component of your ABLE account. Our upcoming spotlights in 2019 will include in May, we're going to be covering the Stable Account Plans, which is a multi-state partnership led by Ohio. In July, we're going to be covering the ABLE for All, 3-state partnership led by Oregon. And in September, we have on track covering the Cal ABLE program out of California. So stay tuned for all of that. Now, I just said that these webinars are for those who have a basic knowledge of ABLE. For those of you who know the basics and could probably give a presentation on the basics to others, we want to spend our time today going deeper. However, for those who are on with us where this happens to be your first or one of your first exposures to ABLE, we don't want to leave you behind. If you haven't already, you'll want to take the time to check out the resources on the next 2 slides that I'm going to be covering quickly, although the information on those slides will be comprehensive and give you a really good, firm grasp of ABLE. So we're going to click through this fairly quickly to get to our presenters, but on this slide you're seeing, you're going to find that on the home page of the ABLE National Resource Center's website at www.ablenrc.org, under the How to Get Started tab, our Roadmap to Enrollment. This will give you the 5 steps, including 3-minute videos with each of those steps that will cover what is ABLE, who is eligible, how can funds be used, how do I manage my account, and how do I enroll. Once you've enrolled and have an ABLE account, you're going to want to check out our next roadmap, the Roadmap to Independence. This roadmap is located on our homepage, again, www.ablenrc.org, under the Managing My Account tab. This roadmap for ABLE account owners also comes with short videos and direction to guide you through the steps to make the most of your ABLE account, which is along the lines of our webinar today. But it also covers other pieces you're going to want to check out. So that Roadmap to Independence covers the following 5 steps: setting your financial goals, building a circle of support, the people and entities who can contribute to your ABLE account, and there are many, making smart financial decisions, monitoring your ABLE account, and finally, celebrating your financial independence. And this information is also available in Spanish. My last slide here before I hand it over to JJ. We want to encourage you to sign up for our mailing list to receive our monthly Achievable newsletter if you haven't already, and you'll also be getting important ABLE-related updates via that listserv. We also encourage you to use our ABLE program comparison tool to help you choose the right ABLE program for you from the 41 states plus DC, you see them all in blue on this map, that currently have ABLE programs in operation. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to JJ to get us started talking about the National ABLE Alliance and what it has to offer. So take it away, JJ.
Thank you, Miranda and Maggie, for giving us a chance to talk about the National ABLE Alliance and get into the weeds today about the plans that are offered through the National ABLE Alliance program. Simply put, the National ABLE Alliance is a group of states working together to offer people with disabilities and their families nationwide a best-in-class ABLE savings and investment program. Next slide. And why was there alliance? Why did the alliance form? It formed because when people with disabilities were first able to open up accounts, we looked, along with a small group of other states, at the size of the number of people that would be eligible to open accounts, and quickly realized that it would be very difficult to be able to find a program manager who would stand up a program that was economical, affordable, and high quality with just our state alone here in Illinois. So we joined with a few other states, Iowa included, and started the National ABLE Alliance. And I'm going to take the time to read the states that now, a few years later, are part of this 16-state plus DC alliance. Alaska, Arkansas, Colorado, Delaware, the District of Columbia, Kansas, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Minnesota, Mississippi, Montana, Nevada, New Jersey, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island are all now part of the National ABLE Alliance. So what does it mean for account owners? What it means is that in any one of the 17 plans, you as an account owner achieve an economy of scale that is offered to you because the states came together that make the plan in each of these states affordable and high quality. So no matter what state you live in, if you open an account in any plan that is part of the National ABLE Alliance, you'll receive access to 6 high-quality investment options plus a fully integrated Fifth Third FDIC-insured checking account option that Karen's going to go into shortly. However, meanwhile, each state that's a part of the National ABLE Alliance manages its plan independently and can make decisions to adhere to its needs and maintain its assets. So while it's always a good idea to check your own state's plan first, because there may be tax and or fee reduction incentives for opening in your state. Next slide. I would just like to point out some of the things that set the National ABLE Alliance apart and help contribute to it being such a high quality program. We, as you could see by the states that are part of the Alliance, we have a bipartisan consortium of red and blue states and purple states and share in a democratic decision-making process. So that means that each state or district member, big or small, has an equal vote. We collaborate actively to meet the needs of each of our members. And we work in small working groups to really be able to make decisions together as states. And why is this important for an account owner? Why is this meaningful for account owners? Well, it's because ABLE is a really young world, as we all know. It's new. There's always a lot of change. And by having active member voices from different states with different needs and perspectives, we can help to guide program development and direction in making ABLE over time a very strong opportunity for people with disabilities and their families. And that really means something when, next slide, Maggie. That means something when the National ABLE Alliance we're thinking about state populations that can vary significantly in size, from a state the size of Alaska with about 18,000 eligible individuals, 19,000 eligible individuals in Delaware, to larger states such as Illinois and North Carolina. The Alliance states plans give the same benefits to smaller population states as they give to large population states. And as a whole, in the aggregate, the work that we do represents and works on behalf of all people with disabilities, but we represent about 25% of the nationally able eligible populations. Next slide. So this is meaningful, again, in this very young industry because you can see that the expertise of the professionals in the National ABLE Alliance, it's broad and it's deep. And that's especially helpful in this young and evolving ABLE world where there are changes going on all the time. For example, many of you may know that recently a bill was reintroduced to raise the age of onset eligibility for people with disabilities, called the ABLE Age Adjustment Act. And it's really important. We need to understand and work collaboratively with disability advocates and to understand the needs of people with disabilities. And you can see by this list of expertise that different state administrators bring to the National ABLE Alliance, how meaningful that can be when things like ABLE age adjustment are out there. So with that, I'm going to ask for the next slide and let Karen Austin from the Iowa Treasurer's Office take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, JJ. As JJ said, I'm Karen Austin. I'm with the State Treasurer's Office in Iowa, and I just want to reiterate quickly how great the experience was for us states to come together. I had the opportunity to be one of the people that started the discussions prior to creating the alliance, and I assure you that one of our biggest concerns as we went through that process was to really try to create a plan that we would want our families, we would want our friends, or that we would want to participate in, and really kept the participant in mind. With that, we can go to the next slide. One of the things what account owners get from the National ABLE Alliance plans, and as JJ indicated, the thing that's great about this is these are the same benefits that you get whether you're in Iowa, you're in Illinois, you're in Alaska. Prudent oversight, the enrollment process and account oversight help protect the account owners from fraud or abuse. We are very concerned about that, and that is one of the things that we are able to provide to all of our customers. Outstanding customer service and call center support. Regardless of what state you're in, the phones are answered 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We also have services available for deaf and hard of hearing callers, as well as non-English speaking. But most important, we have high-quality plan features. What was really important to us was to provide people with low-cost investment options. We also understood that there were a number of people that wanted more transactional type of account, so we did provide the FDIC insured checking account option with a real-time debit card. We also provide paper as an option for people who do not use the internet. We understand, I mean, that's for the people that do use the internet, that's the quickest and easiest way to open an account, but we also wanted to make sure that we had alternatives for people who weren't comfortable with opening an account that way. And we are ADA compliant. We have ADA compliant member websites. Next slide. In terms of the investment options, we understand that we're going to have people in these plans that vary in their experience of investing. Some very experienced investors, others maybe they've never invested previously. So what we tried to do is really outline them as very easy to understand. We have highly rated funds. And Paul is going to talk about how you assess your investment needs a little bit later in this presentation. So I'm not going to talk about how you select which one of these options you may want to invest in. But the idea is we do have 6 easy investment options. We have choices for every investor. So if you like to invest aggressively and you're looking at the long term, maybe you're saving for something you're going to need 15, 20 years from now, you might invest that differently than something that you might need to buy within the next year. And also just how you feel about investing. And then we also have cash. All of our cash allocations are invested in a high-yield Sallie Mae Bank savings option. So when you see those on the charts, that's what it is. Next slide. One of the things that was really important to us is that we had highly rated index-based funds from companies that are well-known. Whether you're a savvy investor or new at investing, these are names that people have heard: Vanguard, Charles Schwab, BlackRock, and Sallie Mae. Those are generally companies that people have heard of, and that gives people a sense of comfort. Next slide. We are very proud to be able to say we have a checking option. That, I will tell you from the experience, was one of the things that was really important to us as an alliance, to be able to get that option to people, which allows them the ability to not only write checks but have a debit card. So the assets, while they're in that checking option, remain under the ABLE protection. So all of those protections available to someone so that it's not counted towards as an asset, those all remain while it's in that checking account. It actually has FDIC insurance up to $250,000. Which, just as a reminder, ABLE accounts can't have $250,000 in them. It is an interest-bearing checking account. Again, it has the debit card with the optional check writing. And the great thing about it is, Fifth Third, it is done a little bit side by side with the investment program, but your quarterly statements is going to include all of your transactions, so you don't have to try to keep track of the transactions on that, separate from maybe your investment options that if you're investing for the long term as well as doing transactions. There's over 54,000 free ATMs nationwide that you can use the card at and not pay a fee to get your funds out. And then there's no monthly fee if the balance is over $250. Or if you receive your checking statements electronically. Additionally, there's no overdraft fees. Next slide. One of the other things that we wanted to be able to offer, and I guess I would consider this a value add for our families that are in the National ABLE Alliance, is access to what is called UGift. It's a way for family and friends to help save. So if you have an event coming up, somebody has a birthday, this is a way that you can send out an invitation and ask those people to make a contribution rather than providing them with a toy, or if there's a concern about whether or not you can actually give them a gift that has value. This allows friends and family to contribute. It's really easy. You basically sign on, you give a UGift code to the people, and they just sign on and can make a contribution at ugiftable.com. So we would encourage people who have family and friends that want to contribute to a loved one's account to really look into that. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to turn it over to Paul from Ascensus.
Thanks, Karen. My name is Paul Supay. I work at Ascensus, which is the program manager for the program, and I work within the investment management group. Here we kind of put together the allocations for each of the portfolios, and we also do the ongoing monitoring of the underlying funds that go into these. We meet quarterly with the members of the National Alliance to go over the funds and recommend any changes or so, or tell them how they're doing. But here we wanted to just talk about what kind of investor are you, and I believe that there's a part of each of the websites which you can access through savewithable.com. Each of the states has a web page that has this kind of information on it. And basically, when we look at the investment options that Karen mentioned earlier in the presentation, each account owner needs to really figure out which option is best for their beneficiary's situation. So first, if we go to the next slide, we'll see the kind of questions that come up that we go with. And the first two questions here really come down to timing. So what expenses will I need to save for, and what will I need the money, when will I need the money? These questions lead to further subtopic questions. Questions like, are the assets being invested into pay off short-term reoccurring expenses? Is it an expense in the near term that needs to have money put aside for? Or is it to save for the future expenses or long-term savings? The timing for the expected withdrawal can have a significant influence on how much risk is appropriate, as well as the flexibility of the timing of the payment. If you need the withdrawal to pay for medical expenses, it may be something that you can't put off for 6 months. The flexibility may just be in a matter of days. If the withdrawal involves growing assets for future living expenses, flexibility could be measured in years. So overall, the sooner you need to make the withdrawals and the less flexibility you have, the more appropriate it is to take on less risk. Part of our responsibility within this program is need to educate all the account owners on what risks that they are taking when they invest in these. Investments generally do not come with guarantees, so inevitably we will take on some risk when we try to grow our assets. Market risk is the first risk that we think of when we talk about investments. What are the chances that my account will lose money? So that's basically what we're talking about. Historically, equities have more risk than fixed income, as the prices of these investments fluctuate a lot more, and the income returns to the investors through these are a lot lower percentage than you would get through like a fixed income product. On the flip side, equities tend to have accumulate more capital growth than fixed income products do, but with a less sense of certainty. So we don't. They may grow faster or so, but we don't know the exact point of when they'd reach those. There'll be a lot more fluctuation in the gains and losses. Is that balance of risk and return is the second biggest influence for determining the risk that's appropriate for us to take. If you have a fixed amount of savings that you can spare each month and you need to grow it to a certain amount, you may need to take a higher allocation than if you have more money to save for that same product that you need to buy in the end, or service that you need to reach. So limited funds sometimes pushes the need for a higher return that you need to get in order to increase your funds to that level. Beyond just market risk, we also have to account for purchasing power or inflation risks. If we have an item that we need 1 year for from now, and we could save $100 a month and it costs $1,200, with inflation, we still not may be able to purchase that item. You'd have the $1,200, but that item might now be worth $1,300. So we have to account for inflation when we need to take on some risk in that scenario as well. If there's, very little flexibility for that time period, we need it right at that 12 months. We need to adjust our risk tolerance for those other risks that are involved in the marketplace. Finally, we have personal comfort, which is probably the biggest part of how we should invest ourselves. What is my own personal risk tolerance? These investments are supposed to help make life easier and better and more enjoyable for people by helping you to obtain your financial goals. So if taking on additional risks makes you sleepless at night or brings additional stress to you that you didn't have before you invest the money, that's a big signal that you are taking on too much risk and a reason to kind of dial it back risk-wise and go a little bit more conservative. So while timing and return are big factors, the most important factor is really the account owner's confidence and being pleased with how they are investing for their beneficiary. On the next slide, we talk about the program fees. So hundreds of people from many different companies help put this program together. We design each of these investment options using broad index-based products in order to provide maximum diversification at a minimum cost. So the investment options have that underlying management expenses that we see in that first column. They're ranging anywhere between 0.02% and 0.05%. So this is the fees that go to pay the mutual fund companies of the underlying products. So as mentioned before, BlackRock, Vanguard, Schwab, Sallie Mae, all those underlying managers, they get paid through this underlying management fee. So we try to keep that as low as we can, and we do that by using the cheapest share class we can possibly use. The next level of fees is the program management fee, and that helps to pay for all the communication and marketing and legal, investment management functions, working with the call center, all the questions that people have, in any operation functions that go into running the National ABLE program. So for a total annual asset-based fee of between 34 and 37 basis points for all the risk-based allocation portfolios, it basically comes down to every $1,000 of assets, you're really only spending about $3.40 to $3.70 per year to be invested in those funds. Additionally, there is a per account fee of $15 that is paid on a quarterly basis, but there's also ways of reducing this fee. This fee can be reduced through e-delivery, taking the e-delivery of your statements, and also some states have residence reasons for lowering that fee even further. The checking account also does come with a monthly fee of $2, but this can be completely waived if you have over $250 in your checking account, or if you take e-delivery of statements or e-delivery through the checking account as well. So there are some fees that are there that can be completely waived for certain areas. And I believe we're going to move to the next section. And I believe Lauren is going to talk about her kind of personal experience with this. Lauren?
Thank you. Is Wendy going to go first, or am I going to go first?
I think Wendy's going to go first, Lauren. Wendy, you with us?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Okay. Hi, my name is Wendy Fettles. I am an account owner. I have the checking option. It was incredibly easy for me to open my ABLE account. It took me about 20 minutes. I've had it now for just shy of 2 years, and I've had absolutely no problems in managing my account. I do have some long-term goals that I hope my ABLE account will help me with, which are purchasing a house, a vehicle, and obtaining a master's degree. But really, my main goal and the reason for having the ABLE account is financial stability. That's not really something that I had ever had prior to my ABLE account, just because I am eligible for SSI. I don't receive SSI because I am working, but there have been times that I've had to go back and forth on and off of SSI because of a layoff and various other reasons. And I always had to be mindful of that $2,000 maximum that I was able to keep in my account because I was on SSI, and that didn't allow me to save any sort of money. But because I have my ABLE account, I am now able to have a backup plan should something happen with my employment or my wages or any other unforeseen circumstances. Hopefully
Wendy, this is...
my...
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Wendy. It's JJ. Just wanted to give you an opportunity to continue, and you can just let Lauren know when you are ready to for her to start speaking. Thank you.
I was just going to reiterate that my main goal is my financial stability, which I finally have with ABLE. But I will let Lauren tell her story now and hopefully answer any questions you might have later.
Thank you, Wendy. Like Wendy said, my name is Lauren McClain, and I live in Olney, Illinois, which is a small town in southeastern Illinois. I was born and raised in Olney, and I married a man who was also raised here. Together, we have 3 children, and I will tell you about them in a moment. Currently, I am the Business Development Specialist at Trust Bank in Olney. In this position, among many other things, I get to assist our trust department with seeking out new referrals for our wealth management team. I also get to sit in on appointments and listen for the client's needs. And as a registered rep, I can help people open mutual funds, Bright Direction 529s, and even write life insurance policies. I say all of this because it is rewarding to me to be able to help families in this way, especially families who might be experiencing life with a loved one who has a disability. So back to my reason for being a panelist today. I am the mother of 3 children. Nora is 8, Grant is 5, and Alexander is 1. Although Alex is our only child with special needs, I do think our ABLE account is for all 3 of our kids. Alex has Down syndrome, or trisomy 21. Because I have previously worked for an organization where I provided supported employment services, I understand what future needs our sweet Alex may have. And our family has big goals for him. But we know and realize he may have future residential placement or require supported employment services. And that's why we truly think this ABLE account is for all 3 of our kids. We don't want Alex's future needs to be a financial burden to our 2 bigger kids. So as we save for Alex's future, we know we are doing so without affecting his need and ability to get Social Security benefits or Medicaid waiver funding down the road. This way, our 2 older kids can advocate for their little brother, ensuring he gets the services he needs and deserves without worrying about the money we saved for him. We opened our ABLE account online, and that process was super simple. I think it took me maybe 5 to 10 minutes. We were also able to share the links for others to contribute to Alex's account with our family, who also want to help secure a bright future for Alex. And one example of that is Alex isn't eligible for life insurance because of his diagnosis, but my mom had always purchased life insurance for her grandkids, so she chose to put into Alex's ABLE account what she would typically spend on a life insurance policy for the kids. We chose the aggressive risk-based investment model, knowing that Alex is only 1 year old and we are saving this money for his future. Because we know that our time horizon is lengthy, we understand we can be a little more risky with the markets and our investment choices. We understand that we are truly investing for Alex's future. We are not currently using the funds, nor do we intend to anytime soon, although it is nice to know that if we should need it to help offset the cost of our share of early intervention services or future therapies, that it is there for us to use. In addition, my husband and I appreciate the state tax incentives we realize by contributing to Alex's ABLE account. We anticipate needing the funds in the future to help offset costs of things like a job coach so Alex can work in the least restrictive setting possible someday, or possibly to help him purchase new furniture for a group home, or maybe even education down the road. We truly don't know what the plan is, but we like knowing that we have the money there when it is needed. If I had any advice to give other families, it would just be not to wait. Set up your account today. It is easy and something you won't regret. Of course, I am always just an email away if you get stuck or you want help from a mom's perspective, because sometimes that's nice. And I'm sure that Miranda or somebody can share my email address when they share the slides and audio version of this online. So I'm always happy to help. So just to close, we are eager to grow with ABLE and see how this account will continue to make a difference in our families' lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lauren and Wendy and Paul and Karen and JJ for this presentation and for sharing your experience as well. We do have some questions that are coming in, and we have time for questions from the audience. So if you haven't been submitting your questions in the Q&A, please feel free to do so now, and our team will be pulling those over for me to alert me, and I'll be able to ask the group. We have a couple of questions queued up already, and I'll be asking those of our panelists, our presenters. But yeah, on the lower right-hand corner of the webinar screen, you can see the Q&A. You can also email Maggie Redden if you're calling in and not linked to the screen. Her email again is mredden@ndi-inc.org. But let's go ahead and ask a couple of these questions that came in during the presentation. So the first question we have is, I'm in Arizona and notice my state is not a current NAA member state. Is there any way I can facilitate the movement of Arizona in becoming an NAA member state? JJ, I'll throw that to you.
Oh boy, that's probably not a question that I can answer. I think I would. We work very collaboratively and closely with other states that are part of other partnerships. So I guess the most I could do is say, take a look at Arizona's plan and see if it works for you, because it's always a good idea to look at your own state's plan and see what benefits it might offer. That you might not get, not just by going to another consortium state, but you might not get by going to any other state. So I hope that helps. I know it's not an exact answer, but I hope it helps.
Well, and I think that is one of the things we talk. Oh, go ahead, Karen. Go ahead.
Right. Sorry. So one thing I want to make sure people do understand is you can participate in any state's plan. I'm not familiar with Arizona's plan either, and I would reiterate what JJ said. But if for some reason it doesn't work for you to participate in your own state's plan, anybody in the country is eligible to have an ABLE plan in any state. They just can only have one.
Thank you, Karen, for chiming in. And yeah, that is a best practice. That's something that we at the center advise people to always look at your state first. There might be benefits. I know some of those were covered earlier in the presentation. There might be some tax benefits. There might be additional legislation to protect against Medicaid payback provisions. Different states have taken different actions. Always look at your home state first, but as was mentioned, many, but not all, of the 41 states and DC's plans are open to out-of-state residents. Some of them are not open to out-of-state residents, but a lot of them are. So it's worth checking out your own home state first and see what they have on offer, and then you can use our comparison tool on our website to determine if there might be a different plan that you might want to check into as well that might have benefits. We've certainly seen examples of that. A lot of the time we've seen where folks have signed up with a plan out of state because their own state didn't have a plan open at that time, and perhaps they chose to stay with that state's plan once their own state's plan opened up, or they might have chosen to transfer. And you can make changes to your ABLE account and even transfer over to another state's plan. You can make those kinds of changes up to 2 times a year. So you're not locked into your plan, and you can continue to assess others as well. But hopefully that is helpful. Feel free to write back in and let us know if we answered your question effectively, if you have any follow-up to that. Here's a question and I'll lead this as well, that I'd be open to and would like to hear, JJ and Karen, your thoughts on this. The question is, how is the National ABLE Alliance different than STABLE, which is another multi-state partnership that has formed, and that this individual is apparently part of the STABLE plan? And we're actually going to be highlighting, hopefully you heard at the beginning, in May, we'll be offering an opportunity to STABLE to do a spotlight and a similar presentation so people can really understand the features and the fees, some of the guidance and direction that STABLE is offering as well. So please tune back in May for that. But there are some differences, and I don't know, I know we went through some of the benefits of the National ABLE Alliance, but what do you feel are some of the things that distinguish your alliance from other multi-state partnerships or individual state plans? Anything you'd like to reiterate or highlight? I know you covered a bit of this earlier, but JJ and Karen, would you like to weigh in on that?
I think that answer is how do they differ? The best way for you as a potential account owner to know is for you to tune in May for the presentation by STABLE about its plan. A couple of things that I can, and this is not this isn't a comparison between NAA and program and others, but some of the things that we took great care to include being able to complete a paper form. There are still folks in the disability community who are uncomfortable doing things via the internet. So it's you can manage your account fully by having the paper form sent to you and completing the process, the enrollment process on paper. So that's one thing that those who need paper appreciate. And another thing that folks really like about the program is with the Fifth Third checking account, it's a fully integrated checking account, and the debit card feature is a real-time debit card. So the funds don't have to be preloaded into the card. They're withdrawn from the checking account upon use of the card, so you don't have to worry about preloading that. In terms of investment options, I would recommend that you look at the plan disclosure documents for all of the plans and take a look at and decide which of the plans work best for you. And once again, always look at your state's plan first. Does anybody else have any thoughts on that?
I think you covered that nicely, JJ. Thank you. We have, and speaking of which, one of the questions was just around the performance of the investments in the National ABLE Alliance and how those funds have been performing recently. And if you can speak to that, I wonder, Paul, if you might be able to speak to that question.
Sure. I mean, for the most part, we've had fairly strong performance. They're passively managed funds, so they're basically index-based funds, so they follow the markets. Of course, at the end of 2018, the equity markets were down quite a bit in the last couple months, but they've bounced back a bit, and we've generally had fairly strong performance over the 2+ years that the plan's been around for. So it's been a positive performance since inception.
Great. Thank you, Paul. We have some other questions rolling in about is someone who is a resident of a state not in the Alliance, such as New York, allowed to open an account in the Alliance? And we've had some similar questions along those lines, so I'm going to group that all together. I'm going to, for example, this example, I know that New York State is currently, their ABLE program, they have one, but it is limited to in-state residents at this time. But just because you are in New York and there is a New York ABLE program and it's limited to residents, there might be benefits. You should look at that program first. But guess what? You could definitely go and sign up with another program, with the National ABLE Alliance, Stable, or some of the others that are open to out-of-state residents. You're not limited to staying there. So you can, again, use the comparison tool that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation to take a look and find out more information, and also to check out, we've got links to all of the websites of all of the programs, so that's a good tool for you to be checking out. I think I've probably addressed that question, unless, JJ, you feel like you want to add anything to that?
Nope, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. So here's a question. What are qualifying expenses, and how are distributions made to the account holder without the checking/debit option? And I don't know who'd like to take that question. Maybe Karen? I'll
sure,
repeat it again.
You want me to tell it? I can certainly.
Yeah, it's what are qualifying expenses and how are distributions made to the account holder without the checking/debit option? I think they're curious about, without that option, how is that done?
So I'll tackle the last part of that, and then certainly Paul or JJ, if there's anything you want to add. But the distributions can be done through our website. So on a checking or debit card, you're doing an instant transaction as you would any other banking transaction. If you want to take money out of one of your investment accounts or the do anything else with them, you can do that on the website. Or I believe, and I need JJ or Paul to remind me if we can do that on paper, but I know definitely you can go to the website and say, I'd like to take a distribution. You can either mail a check to yourself, you can mail a check to, if you're paying an expense to somebody else, that can be done, or you can say automatically put this into maybe an account you have hooked up with ACH to that account. Does that, JJ and or Paul, did I cover that piece of it?
Yeah, I think so. And you may have already mentioned that if you have the checking account option, you can have a checkbook, and you can use the checkbook to write checks, which you may have already said. That's all I would add.
Yep. Now, going to the first part of the question, and I'm kind of I was stalling just a tad trying to find the right language so somebody else might have it in front of them. But in terms of what is a qualified expense, the great thing about the ABLE programs and the people that really advocated hard for this program is they knew that there was not a finite list of things that would qualify for as an expense because everybody's needs are so different. Everybody's situation is so different. So ABLE stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience, and genuinely it is what is going to, I don't have the phraseology in front of me if anybody else does, but basically make your life better is, now we have, in Iowa, we have a graphic that we use that kind of puts those into categories. I mean, there are categories of things. You can use it for education, you can use it for housing, you can use it for legal expenses, transportation, those kind of things. And we encourage people to kind of track those expenses so they know they can put them into those categories. But again, it was intentionally broad, and I don't know, Miranda, you might have an additional answer to that as well.
I'm happy to help you out here, Karen. I wanted you to touch base on what you do in NAA without the checking and debit option to speak specifically to your program with that I'm happy to help out with. You did a really nice job talking about those qualified disability expenses, and they were meant to be. It's meant to be broad and cover basic living expenses, but at the same time, if you do, we definitely want you to be aware of, those different categories. And we actually did a webinar in December. It's archived on our website, and it's an extensive coverage of, what are qualified disability expenses. And we've got a case summary that we worked with a disability law attorney to develop that also is very helpful and thorough in that front. And even the roadmap that I mentioned at the beginning. What do funds pay for? What can they be used to pay for? So we've got lots of information on our ABLE NRC website, and I know the National ABLE Alliance has that information as well, as you mentioned. And it's good to become very aware of what is covered and what some best practices are, too, around when and how to use your ABLE account, because there might be other opportunities or certain ways of using the account that build off of other benefits that you might have that will make the most of it. And we could go into lots of details around that, but you want to be really strategic about how and when you're using your ABLE funds, because if there's other services you could be accessing, other funds you could be using or leveraging, or even benefits that you're getting that you should use first, like your SSI cash payments, before using an ABLE account, it might not just be strategic. You might also save quite a bit of money. So those are worth looking into as kind of standalone resources, and I'd encourage folks to follow up on that. And we do
Miranda,
have information about that. Go ahead, JJ.
This is JJ, and for the listeners, a couple of points I'd love to make, and one of them is it ties into what you were just saying about looking at your different options, looking at your different resources. This is something that makes ABLE accounts, no matter what state you open in, what program you're part of. If you're an individual with a disability or a family member, that's one of the most exciting things about having an ABLE account is that you start to build your financial wellness and look at life as not one, if you are a federal means-tested benefits recipient, where you're not caught in, what's my benefit this month, and have I reached that $2,000 cap if I'm on SSI? Suddenly or currently with ABLE, you're the world and the access to the world and your choices, rather than what am I going to get, now it can be more like, well, what am I going to buy? What am I going to invest in? How am I going to plan my future? And that's something that I always try to hang on to when thinking about ABLE and what an important new tool this is. The second thing is I'd like to go back to excuse me, I had to cough, to the question about qualified disability expenses. I think it's really important all of the listeners know we always get asked this question. What are the qualified disability-related expenses? Can I spend money on something really specific like a vacation? What can I spend my money on? And that list is broad, and the Treasury Department a few years ago gave a little additional clarification. I want to read this to you because ultimately the responsibility for making the decision about how you're going to spend your money is not dictated by the plans and by administrators and by us. You, the account owner or the authorized representative, have to make your judgment about how you're going to use those funds and whether or not it is a qualified disability expense. So the responsibility that comes with these accounts is making those decisions. And the ultimate decider about whether that will be the case is the IRS if you are ever for any reason audited. And so I do want to take a second to read what the Treasury said, because I think it's very helpful as you, the account owner or the authorized representative, are thinking about what is a qualified disability-related expense for me. And it says that the term qualified disability expenses is expenses incurred to the disability, that relate to the disability of the designated beneficiary of the account, and that are for the benefit of the designated beneficiary in one, maintaining or improving his or her health, independence, or quality of life. So those are three things that I think you want to take a look at and be thinking about. Additionally, the Treasury Department, and I'm quoting here, the Treasury Department and the IRS recognize that this term, QDEs, Qualified Disability Expenses, should be broadly construed to permit the inclusion of basic living expenses and should not be limited to expenses for items for which there is just a medical necessity or that provide no benefit to others in addition to the benefit to the eligible individual. In other words, that other people aren't also benefiting from that in some way. But you can see that it isn't a list of things that there is a list, but there's still some broad interpretation there, and the responsibility for that interpretation ultimately falls on the account owner or the authorized representative. Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you, JJ, for adding that. I actually also posted in the chat the link to our Qualified Disability Expense webinar we did in December and the case summary that went alongside that. I know that additional guidance is being sought to put into future version of the POMS from SSA that will be coming out later this year to provide a little more clarity around that as well. But I think you did a nice job of touching base on that. And really, there was the list of things that Karen also mentioned before. It is meant to be broadly construed, but really to help support, education, employment, more independent living for people with disabilities. So it's such a great opportunity that we hope folks are taking advantage of. But look deeper into those resources and do check out that link that I just posted. Let's see if we have other questions that are rolling in. I'm looking to my team for anything else that is coming in that people would like to know more about from our experts and panelists here today. And I think that might be it. I think you all must have done an exceptional job covering all the ins and outs of the National ABLE Alliance program, because unless I see anything else coming in from my team here shortly, I think we might go ahead and take an opportunity to wrap up and cover a few more different topics. Oh, okay, I do see one other question that came in the chat that would be relevant to the National ABLE Alliance and others. It's a question that any ABLE program would be able to answer, but I'll just ask JJ this one last question. Can you deposit your SSI payment directly into your ABLE account?
That is a question that we are asking of Social Security account at the national level. So everybody will have to stay tuned for the answer to that question. We actually met with some regional representatives yesterday and are working with them to take it up to their policy level folks at their headquarters nationally, because it's something that Social Security will need to weigh in on. And so we are waiting for their guidance on that. It's a great question. Stay tuned.
Great. Thank you, JJ. Yeah, and it's a question, that's an applicable question for all 41 states in D.C. The answer when it comes in will be applicable to all of you. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, well, those are some good questions, and thank you for participating and adding those. I'm going to go ahead and just cover the last couple of slides, and as we're wrapping up here today, we have some additional resources we'd like to leave you with and point you towards, in addition to some of the links we posted in the chat. We have just our ABLE National Resource Center website. We have a link to our case summary series that where we covered a range of strategies for funding an ABLE account, how to make smart financial decisions, a link to that information, and building that circle of support to be contributing to your ABLE account. If you're in the process of working, potentially transitioning off of benefits, or want to work and stay on benefits, we encourage you to connect with a certified benefits counselor, and here's a link there. As well as there's information on our Gift of Independence card, which ABLE is 529A, and 529 is college savings, is the college savings program, and and they have the Gift of College card, and now we, with ABLE, now have a Gift of Independence card that you can purchase for denominations from $25 to $200 to give to an ABLE account owner for a birthday present, a holiday, or any kind of milestone that they might be reaching. And, you know, certainly your circle of support can help contribute funds to an individual's ABLE account in that way, similar to, you know, what JJ had mentioned earlier with the UGift link. So we wanted to leave you with a few of those resources. We also ask for your help in spreading the word. Please do share information about ABLE accounts with your friends, your family, and your community. And to receive up-to-date information on ABLE, please do subscribe to our Achievable newsletter and connect with us on social media, on Facebook and Twitter, and participate with us in some of those upcoming ABLE National Resource Center webinars. And I'm just going to leave you with the next two that are coming up. On April 25th, from 2 to 3 o'clock Eastern, we're going to be covering how to use an ABLE account to support youth from transition to independent living. And we're going to be covering answering the questions: how is transition age youth defined? How is transition defined, and how can an ABLE account help? And then also best practices to consider. And we'll have a subject matter expert, Marlene Uliski, joining us, as well as testimonials from transition ABLE account owners, as well as parents of ABLE account owners. And that's going to be our April webinar, April 25th. And then we're going to do another Spotlight webinar at the end of May, and we'll be showcasing the STABLE program and their multi-state partnership led by Ohio. And so stay tuned for that. We don't have the registration link set up for that. We're going to be using a different web platform at that point. But with that, I would just like to say thank you to everyone who joined us here today. And if you have any other questions or inquiries, here's our email, inquiry@the National Resource Center. You can get any of your ABLE-related questions addressed, and we'll certainly direct you to a state ABLE program if your questions are best answered by them as well. But our email is info@ablenrc.org. We can direct you to anything that's related on the web, respond to your questions. We get back to folks fairly promptly. We also have a call center. That's 202-683-6094, 202-683-6094. And again, our website, www.ablenrc.org. We have a post-training survey that if you would take just 30 seconds after you exit the training today to give us your response and feedback about today's presentation. We certainly appreciate that feedback. And if you have any questions, you can also post those there if you had questions that didn't get answered during the presentation itself. And with that, I would really like to thank our presenters for joining us today and sharing with us such great information about the National ABLE Alliance. And we wish the rest of you a good day, and thank you for joining us here today. We look forward to having you join us again in April. Have a great day, everyone.